Hi Vika, I'm really glad to see you. Glad you found some time to talk about Jessup and Jessup Summer School. We will start from our traditional questions. Could you please tell a little bit about yourself, about your education and your occupation?
Sure. Hi everyone. Looking for watching the interview. It's my honor also to be here and my pleasure. My name is Viktoriia Stavchuk. I am a senior associate with CMS Cameron McKenna Nabarro Olswang. Currently working in commercial and tax law. I studied in Kyiv-Mohyla Academy. That's where my story started, my legal career story and my Jessup story. So so basically that's it. That's professional and educational background.
Okay, now maybe to something more extensive, to your mooting background.
My mooting background. I started my mooting life with the Telders actually. On my third year of studies in Kyiv-Mohyla Academy, I got into. That's actually a very interesting story because I've never heard of moots. I've never heard of Telders or Jessup or anything. I wasn't interested in that, but a bunch of my friends were going for tryouts for the Telders team. And I just went along with them just to pass time, and I participated in the tryouts. And basically, I got chosen to the team, and they didn't. So that's how I got into that. In my first year on the Telders team, I was just a researcher, and I was drafting the memo. And then for the second year, I participated as a full-fledged team member, and our team, we had national rounds in Odessa that year, and our team, I think that was a brilliant team, really. We had Ola such as our coach, and we poured our heart and soul into that participation. We did not win, so on our way back to Kiev in the train, we were sitting there and we were like, no, that can't be it. It's not how it can end. So the decision was made for our entire team. We moved from Telders to Jessup for the next year, and that's how I ended up in Jessup.
Okay, so several years after, you are judging, you are advising. What is your role currently in mooting?
Currently in mooting, I'm mostly judge. So I started. I participated in Jessup for just 1 year. I coached after that for several years. I think like 4 teams I coached, and at some point I realized that coaching is taking too much of the time that I cannot afford, so I moved to judging. So at this point I judge international rounds, I judge national rounds, and out of that, I just help around. I help you as national administrator from time to time when I can. We sponsor, we just like come around, we hire. So we are around, and I am around.
So being around, what is mooting for you? Why are you around?
Because it's cool, because it's wonderful. Because I've been doing this for so many years, and as I said in our opening ceremony, over the past 10 years I've been doing Jessup in some role, and in my life a lot of things changed. I graduated, I changed jobs, I changed partners, I changed occupation, but the thing that remained constant in my life was basically Jessup.
Okay, so if we go from generally mooting to Jessup specifically, why Jessup is so special for you, both as the member of community, let's say in this way, and also as for a potential employee of growing up stars?
Well, let's be honest, Jessup is special for me just because I played Jessup. I did Telders, but because that was just my story with Telders ended with me not winning. So and Jessup was my glory moment. That's when we played, when we won. We didn't win the final round in Ukraine, but we did go to DC. We represented. So just because of that, that is my moot court, you know. So and of course it is special for me because of that. I don't think that Jessup is necessarily the only important moot court universally or objectively. It's just the most important for me personally. That's the thing. But of course now as a potential employer, as a sponsor, I do recognize and I do believe that moot courts in general are important. Moot courts in general are very helpful for young lawyers, for students, for just young people. I appreciate all of them, but my love and affection go with Jessup.
Okay, so that's the matter of love. Once a Jessup or always the Jessup.
Exactly, yes, that's a love affair.
Okay, so you're judging the Ukrainian semi-finals, international round, so you appear as a very strict person, and you will appear during the GSS finals. Just to make you look a little bit as the ordinary person, can you please share 1, 2, 3 stories from your participation times when you thought that you made a mistake and it seems like, wow, the life is gonna stop. What I did, so something really awful. And what do you think of it now?
I don't think that there is anything like really awful, but let's see. I mean, of course, every mooter has fun stories, have embarrassing stories to tell, and I do have stories to tell. Just to be clear, I don't regret them, and I don't think and I've never had this feeling of life is over. Of course, when you perform badly, or you think that you performed badly, you go out of the courtroom and you think, oh, I could do that differently, or I could do this differently. That happens. And especially now when I'm 30 plus years old, looking back at my 20 plus years old, there are a lot of things that I would have done differently. But it doesn't mean that they should be regretted about, and I don't regret. But I do have fun stories. My favorite story recently, for instance, is when I was participating and we were in DC. So basically, how the international rounds are they were arranged when for an offline setting. So there was a week of competition, and first Monday, Tuesday, and Wednesday are the preliminary rounds where everyone plays, and then on Wednesday evening there's a party. Basically, it is a party in the nightclub where they announce the advancing teams. So that's where everyone comes, and that's the first time where most of the students can really relax because they just finished for around 3 days of preliminary rounds. And I had a lot of fun on that party, of course. All of us had. We were happy, we were going around talking, and then they announced the teams, and at the moment of the announcement I got separated from my teammates. I was with our Belarusian team actually, and they say the name of our team. They say the number and the name of our team, and I realized that we advanced. So that's the happy, such a happy moment. So I go out of the nightclub. So all of the teams that are advancing, they need to leave the party. They need to go back to the hotel for the draw with the competitors for the next round. And actually, before they announced, they asked all of the judges to leave because they announced the team. So I am going out, I'm super happy. There are a lot of judges standing at the front who are seeing this happy people running out, and I'm running and trying to find my teammates, and there's a judge who looks at me, with whom I probably talked before, and he's like, oh, like, you're happy, you're probably advanced. I'm like, yes, we're advanced, we're so happy. He looks at me and he's like, you must be Korean. I'm like, what? No, of course I'm not Korean. I'm from, like, no. You must be Korean. That's the moment when I realized that he's a judge. He's gonna judge tomorrow probably, and so basically, if I tell him my nationality, I will create the conflict, which none of us needed. So I was like, oh, Korean means Korean, okay. So, yeah, so that was fun, really, and but that's. Like, there is a lot of Jessup spirit in DC, and that's truly what was bringing me back, and is still bringing me back all these years. Online rounds are a little bit different, but they still have a lot of this kind of things going on.
Definitely. We ask everyone who was in DC, where is the best coffee in DC?
Oh, where you can get them for free. I mean, I'm spoiled. Whenever I was going to Jessup, I was staying in the hotel where the competition was performed, or in the designated hotel for the students, and all of them, they have coffee machines in their rooms, so I would grab coffee there and I would just drink it. There are like coffee in lounge rooms, in judges lounge, very good coffee. So yeah, it's free. If it's free, it's good.
So some competitors told us that the best coffee is in Starbucks in Hyatt, because they just had no time to go somewhere else. So no one goes outside Hyatt. Okay, so now we are 1 week from the beginning of the 6th GSS, but you were one of those people who inspired the creation of this school. Can you please tell what was your motivation for doing that? Why does Ukraine need Jessup Summer School?
Because the thing is, especially once you go to internationals and once you see the level of the teams, you realize that our kids, our teams are so smart and so capable, but we are just a priori, we are starting like few steps behind a lot of the teams that we then need to compete with, because of the language, because of the educational system, because we like see if you are competing with American teams who are used since middle school, they are doing debates, this kind of exercises, they are trained in public speaking, they are trained in like a lot of these things. They are not trained properly in proper international public law, but they feel confident, at least just because they've been doing these things. And so for us, these kind of exercises, they are lacking in our formal education. So that's why moot courts are so important for future lawyers, because they give them this opportunity. But when we are talking about Jessup, and that's what we discussed, if we want to succeed with Jessup, because we see the potential, and we've seen how our teams performed in international rounds. We had very good results. Ukraine has had very good results in international rounds, even though there was a certain threshold that we couldn't pass. And so basically the summer school was something to kind of level up the field, to ensure that people who are like our students in general, who are just coming into competition, are already starting not from the zero, but from little bit upper. And because of that, like making the level of our national rounds competition even more competitive, raising the level of all of the students and all of the teams, we automatically raise the level of the best of them, because if you're the best from among mediocre team, you are also kind of mediocre. But if you are the best among good teams, then you really are very good. And you can go up, you can go to DC, and you can compete on absolutely different level. And so basically that was the motivation that we started with. Of course, once we started doing it, and year after year, we have noticed that it's not, I mean, school brought even more to our community than we expected. We just wanted to raise the level of incoming student for the Jessup competition. Instead, we created I feel like even better something. We created a hub not only for Jessup but for other moot courts as well. Not only for Ukrainian students but for our neighboring countries. Like this year when we have it international, we couldn't even imagine when we like 6 years ago when we started for this to be. I mean, yes, even then we had Belarusian people participating, but that was still kind of local thing that was like, oh wow, okay, good. But we couldn't imagine to have this as full-on international summer school. So yeah, but that's like with every child. You have some plans for that, but then it can grow to become even better.
If we say about this cumulative effect of better level of starts of students, do you really see it in 6 years? Let's say in 5 years, because now it's the 6th year of the school.
Oh yeah, absolutely. I mean, I've seen the community change over the past 10 years, and of course, and at first that was a change of community itself, how our national rounds are performing, and then when we add up the summer school, and now, I mean, the quality, let's say the profile, not the quality, but the profile of Jessupper today really changed. Changed in because maybe because the youth also changed too, but we are talking about like much better. If like 5 years ago, 10 years ago, we did have teams that could not speak English. Now basically all of our teams, they do speak English. They are good. That's the ground zero for our students now. So because of that we can build up. We don't have teams who don't know how to say their names or who don't know how to respond to the question on sources of international law. That is something that I can still encounter when judging international rounds. Absolutely. But I will never encounter when judging national rounds in Ukraine. So and that is very important because that shows that is our work that we are doing in summer school. You are doing now. I'm doing much less of it nowadays.
You started doing, yeah. So you mentioned the change of Ukrainian community. Yeah. How did it change? What specific?
It became a community.
Okay.
That's really so because when I participated in 2011, my Jessup year. So because at that moment. I mean, I'm that kind of person. I've read all the rules, and of course, like I knew all the rules about like how to compete and all the conflict rules, like avoidance of conflict. I've read them all, like so we knew, and we realized that there shouldn't be any kind of exchange, any kind of talks. And I think that's how most of the students understood the rules, that it should be just this kind of like competition. Very similar to, our like school Olympiad, it's called, like when we have, when from you are sent somewhere from the school, I mean, you are on your own, everyone is on his or her own, there's no spirit around, and that's how we approached Jessup. When our first round, we came to the room that was supposed to be our courtroom, and our opposing team was already there, so we were standing in the corridor, and the people from the opposing teams were very friendly, and they came to us just to say hi and to talk, and I mean, we didn't want to talk to them. We were scared. We were like, hi, and turned around, literally, because we were thinking that like, no, this is conflict, this is everything, like we're not supposed to talk. that changed, and it took years to change, but we created a community with totally different attitude and absolute like friendliness and acceptance at all levels, which is wonderful, really.
Just a reminder for participants that talking during the rounds is okay with the other team, not with
Yes.
the judges, but
No, you
with the judges later.
Well, that's the thing. You can talk to judge too. Of course, you don't tell the judge who you are, what university you're from, and you are not talking to the judge about the case or anything. But you can say hi to a judge.
Sure.
You can talk to a judge. You can, if that's a foreign judge, you can ask how they're feeling about coming to Kyiv. That's okay, But because we were scared of even saying hi, or seeing each other. But you shouldn't be. Please don't be.
Yeah. I have maybe a provocative question for you. We talk about the quality, but now I want to talk about quantity. In 2015, in 2016, when I came to Jessup as bailiff, I remember there were more teams, and Ukraine sent 2 teams for internationals. There were more than 10 teams.
Yeah.
Now we have 6, 7. So what do you think? What's the problem? Is it a problem at all?
I don't know. Honestly, that's because that's a philosophical question, and I can say arguments both ways. I could say arguments both ways. I personally yes, I'd like our national rounds to be bigger, because when I participated also we had 2 teams. That's why I got to go to DC, because we were runner-up team. But Ukraine was sending 2 teams to DC at that moment. And the thing is that the more teams you have on the national round, the bigger is competition, of course, the more chances, and that also the better team will come out of it. Because I am thinking about Ukraine's image in international rounds, because our champion is representing the country. So if our champion had only a chance to play with 3 teams on our national rounds, that's a little bit how they could progress from their starting level of preparation. But if they have 4 preliminary rounds, then semi-final, then final, they have 6 games just on the national rounds. This is how they can progress from the starting level to the international level. So of course having big national round is very important, and the statistics show on international rounds also that, unless you are some New Zealand, for other countries, bigger national rounds mean stronger teams on international rounds. So from that perspective, yes, I would like to have more teams, but whether it's achievable, I'm not sure. And I think that there's a big portion in why there's less teams in Jessup now is because as I said, the youth changes, the generation changes, and there's much more opportunities. And in my years when I played, there was Telders, there was Jessup, there was Vis. That was it. If you want to go for moot courts, you're going into one of these 3. But nowadays there are so many different moot courts for any kind, whatever law you want to do, whatever part of the country, of the world you want to go, whether you want it to be more complicated, less complicated, 2 pages case, 20 pages case. There's a big variety. And of course, a young student who goes into this variety, will choose according to their priorities. That's just something that we cannot change, because we cannot limit the amount of moot courts. We can just make sure that Jessup, at least at the national level, our national rounds, they remain attractive to the students. Like as I said, I don't think that Jessup is like the most important, but in my experience, because as a member of founder and a member of the board for Kyiv Mahila Mutkar Society, I do have a chance to meet teams from other moot courts, to do training rounds with them sometimes, to look into their cases, and in my opinion, the payoff that Jessup gives to the student who seriously participates is times more than payoff that another moot court can give. Of course, it all depends on your attitude and how much you bring to the table in any moot court. But just because if you compare big, robust, quite like competitive affair, which Jessup is, and some like smaller competitions that have smaller amount of team, less they're less competitive, that have less complex issues brought to the case, that are maybe limited to just like one area of international law. So it's just like natural that whatever attitude you put into that, you will not get the same result as you will get in terms of personal growth as you can get from Jessup. So I believe that just like student who really wants to challenge himself or herself should really think about going into Jessup, because that's the biggest, maybe not the biggest, but that is really a challenge for anyone who's going into that, no matter how smart you are in the beginning.
Your statement leads me to the final question of our today interview. So the season will be opened in 1 month. The registration will start really soon. There will be a lot of students thinking of creating a team and going for Jessup. What would you advise to do or not to do? What if to do? So just what will be your advice for upcoming season?
Well, of course my advice is do it. I mean, I just said like a few minutes ago, we need more teams, we need more students. So of course, if you're thinking about it, just do it. But what I'm thinking, because Jessup, I don't know a single person who has done Jessup and who thought that it was super easy. Because as I said, no matter how smart you are, it's still a challenge. But I also don't know a single person who did Jessup and said that was a waste of time. Of course, there are people like me who become Jessup addicts and who stay with Jessup for years and years. There are people who don't do that, I mean, I know them, like my teammates. Not everyone stayed within the community. The teams that I coached, some stayed, some left and are not engaged. But even people who do Jessup and then don't participate in Jessup activities again, none of them ever said that it was a waste of time. It's never a waste of time, because whatever the result is, you achieve your personal growth, you achieve professional growth, you gain skills, you learn new stuff, and I mean, most of Jessupers are working in private sector, but it doesn't mean that whatever we learned in Jessup was a waste. No, because even from the general perspective, that is very helpful. So you achieve a lot by participating, and the things that you lose, if you think that you lose anything, they are on a balance of things. I feel like mostly, I mean, if it's time, well, I mean, you invest your time wisely. If that's maybe a little bit less time with your friends, again, you'll have time to catch up. You'll be able to catch up on that because you just choose what's important. And I believe that investing your time and effort into growing yourself and is very important. So yeah, do it. Don't hesitate. Don't lose an opportunity when opportunity arises.
Vika, thank you so much. It's as always inspiring. I think that we will get new Jessup addicted people after your interview. Thanks again, and see you on Saturday.
Yeah, Saturday, next Saturday. Yes, sure. It was again my pleasure, my honor. Always happy, and thank you for what you are doing for the community. And good luck to all the students who are doing summer school now. I will see you quite soon. But also those who are listening and not maybe from outside of our small summer school circle, please join us. If you've done Jessup, say hi. If you haven't, why not? So yeah, join us. We are fun.
Yep.